Perfection geared tuning pegs, the ins and the outs. A little bit about perfection geared tuning pegs. So these are, for all intents and purposes, a regular looking tuning peg, but they have tiny gears inside of this shaft here that allow for precise tuning adjustments, okay? A lot of people, when they put these on, get rid of the fine tuners on their tailpiece because they find they can tune adequately with these, okay? They do not change with temperature and humidity changes, which is wonderful, okay? There's a couple things to note about these tuners. They do have a friction fit aspect. Now, a friction fit peg is like your old violin, like this, where it's solid wood pegs, ebony pegs, and they rely on friction, the mating between the peg and the size of the hole and the taper and everything to stay in tune, okay? There is that small aspect to these pegs. I'm going to explain that right now. So I've got my E string here is tuned up. If I take this peg, I can adjust it just like a guitar tuner for all intents and purposes. But if I pull a little bit as I loosen off, all of a sudden that peg freewheels and it's in like unlocked mode, okay? And so that's the friction part of this. Now when I go to tune this up, I'm going to push that back down. You can see there's just a little bit, I'm going to get right in there. There's just a little bit of allowing there for it to go in and out. I pushed it back in, not hard, never push hard, but I pushed it back in. I'm starting to tune up. Now, as I hit my tuning, I just put a little bit of pressure in as I turned it. That kind of locks it in place. Okay? So a lot of people get a little bit frustrated with these pegs when they don't know that. Okay? And they're slipping all the time, and they're this and they're that. And it's a really simple thing. 90% of the time, it's not a problem with the peg. It's just a matter of you're having to push it in a little bit to engage that friction part of the peg. Now, there is one problem that can happen. So these pegs go into the peg box, and they're like a bolt, okay? And we fit these pegs to the right taper, and then there's little threads on here that actually thread, and they cut little grooves into the headstock, and that's what secures them in there. So this collar part here, this little collar part actually threads into the peg box. And then we lock that in with a drop of a special glue. On the very rare occasion, that glue can let go. And then this whole collar can come loose. And if you see that this collar is spinning, then you have a problem. You need to take it to a luthier and have that repaired. And it's not a big deal. You just have to use the appropriate glue, and it has to be put back in to the appropriate depth. Okay? Aside from that, I have, they can malfunction inside, the gears can strip, and things like that. I have not had that happen to me personally, but it is a gear, it is a mechanical object, therefore it can fail given, some improper use and enough time. And just normal wear will likely wear these out in the eventual, okay? But honestly, I don't know how long that's going to take. It could take a lot of years before something like that would happen. It's just like the alternator on your car. You're going to expect that someday that alternator in your car isn't going to run anymore. Well, that's the same idea. This is a mechanical thing that we're adding to a violin, just like the rest of the instruments. So we just want to make sure that we're putting a little bit of pressure to engage that friction with these pegs. And if that doesn't cure it, if you notice that the collar is spinning, this collar here, if you notice that that is spinning, then you need to take it to your local service shop or your repairman and have it fixed. If you are handy enough, you can probably find a video on YouTube, get the appropriate glue, and do it yourself. You just have to be aware that these pegs thread in a certain direction. Anyway, that's it. That's all. I hope this helps everybody with any problems they're having with perfection tuning pegs. And if you're needing any more help, you can always go to my website, lucas@lucaswelshmusic.com. Shoot me a message, my Facebook, my Instagram page, all at the same location, lucas@lucaswelshmusic.com. Cheers!